Inviting me to speak here tonight. My name is Angelina Cook. I live in McLeod, and I am the proponent of Measure H. I'm here to essentially tell you about a wonderful opportunity for Siskiyou County to keep our water in local hands and improve existing regulation on groundwater, not necessarily expand new regulation. So I think Louise just left the room. I just really wanted to thank Louise for doing such a great job organizing this group. I think it is so crucial that Siskiyou County citizens have an opportunity to learn about issues that affect our region. I live in McLeod. I don't know of any really great forums that currently exist that bring this many people together to become informed on the issues that will impact us all. So I just really want to thank Louise. She was very sweet in all of our interactions, and I'm just really grateful that your group gathers on a regular basis and you have this forum to improve understanding so that we all know better how to make good decisions for our homes and our families. So my goal tonight with Measure H is to first and foremost really make sure everybody understands what Measure H is and what it's not. And secondly, I really hope that you come away from tonight feeling confident that this is not an effort to expand regulation. This is an effort to improve existing regulation. So before I get started, I would like to know, just by a show of hands, how many people in this room know that Siskiyou County already has a groundwater ordinance? Okay, so about half. And how many people think that groundwater is important and we should know how much groundwater is in our county and how much water is leaving our county?
There's actually two questions there.
Okay. So how many people in this room think that groundwater is super important? Okay, we agree on that. And then how many people think that the permitting process is a fair way of knowing how much water is leaving the county? Okay, so I think that's going to be our point of perhaps misunderstanding, perhaps lack of agreement. Anyway, like I said, I am the proponent of the Groundwater Management Initiative, which the county so generously named. When we submitted this measure, it was named the Headwater Initiative, but I think that the county knows that people in Siskiyou County don't like things called Groundwater Management Initiative, so they gave us that name. So what the primary goal of the Groundwater Management Initiative, which is now officially called Measure H, is to require that water bottling companies need to apply for a permit before extracting and exporting untold amounts of water from our county. The primary reason we want to do this is because we see groundwater as essential for economy, essential for community. It's crucial to life. And without knowing how much is leaving, we don't know if we're not managing our groundwaters. So, which brings me to my next question. Well, actually, let's just go on. So the so Measure H is specifically to address the fact, this is my next question. How many people in this room know that water bottling companies are the only industry that are currently exempt from Siskiyou County's groundwater ordinance? Okay. So that's the key. We have a groundwater ordinance. It requires a permitting process for all bulk water extraction and export. And as it reads right now, this is all in Chapter 13, which regulates groundwater extraction and export. So so the water bottling entities are the only group that's exempt from this current ordinance. So in order to properly manage our water, we need to know how much is being exported, but currently we have no way of knowing that because water bottlers are exempt from the Groundwater Management Initiative. So, I know that I'm in North County, and honestly, this measure is kind of focused on South County because right now we have 3 major water bottling companies extracting and exporting untold amounts of water from Weed, Mount Shasta, and Dunsmuir. We have 2 pending projects. Without a permitting process, we have no way of knowing how much they're taking. So we're not trying to prohibit groundwater extraction and export. We're just saying that if water bottling companies are gonna operate in Siskiyou County, we, the residents, we, the businesses, we, the people of Siskiyou County have a right to know how much is being removed from our county. So that is the basis of Measure H. That's why we drafted it, that's why we wrote it, that's why we're putting it on this November ballot, so the people can vote whether or not water bottling companies should be required to go through the permitting process before extracting and exporting groundwater from the county. In order to achieve that single goal, we had to include another provision of the measure because currently the ordinance only manages or only governs water that exists within state designated basins. How many people in here are familiar with state designated basins?
Water basins.
So, okay, so the state designated basins are, they were attempted to be an image on the handout that we made. By the way, really quick, did anybody who wanted a handout not receive a handout? I have more handouts. Here, and actually, if you could just pass these along, that would be fabulous. So this is a picture, and I know it might be a little insufficient, but this outlines all of Siskiyou County. The green indicates the designated basins. So basins are identified by the state of California. They're identified in a document called Bulletin 118. It's the document that identifies strategic sources of groundwater in California. And volcanic aquifers were obviously one of the southernmost volcanoes on the Cascade Ring of Fire. So we have a lot of volcanic aquifers in South Siskiyou County. The volcanic aquifers used to be included in Bulletin 118, but in a revision in 1980, volcanic aquifers were removed from Bulletin 118. So now only alluvial basins, aka geologic pools, are governed by California as groundwater resources. So because the bottling industry is focused around Mount Shasta, and we have this one basin, this is the McLeod Basin, that happens to have a pool-like geologic structure. This is the only basin in South South Siskiyou County that is currently covered by the Groundwater Management Initiative, or by the Groundwater Ordinance, Siskiyou County's existing water law. So in order to remedy that, we had to extend the Groundwater Ordinance to cover all the groundwater in the county, not just the fraction of water that flows in these state-designated basins. So I just want to repeat the two. Measure H makes amendments to the existing groundwater ordinance, and the two amendments that it makes is it removes the exemption for water bottlers so that they have to go through the permitting process just like everyone else, and it extends the extraction ordinance to apply to all the groundwater in the county, not just the water that flows through the state designated basins. I know that's a mouthful, and I want it to be really simple. But that's what it does, and so that's what we're going for. And so I know that we're waiting until the end to ask questions, so I hope that that makes sense to everybody before I move on to my next topic, which is I just want to be transparent that the county is actively opposing this measure, and I want to just acknowledge some of the reasons why I think that the county's opposition is not grounded. It seems to be claiming something that we don't. It wasn't my intention. I'm the proponent of the initiative, so. So I guess what I'm saying is please hold on to your questions for clarification. If you have anything, if you need to understand what the ordinance does better, please ask at the end of this presentation. So Siskiyou County has opted to draft and sign the argument opposing Measure H, which everybody will get to read in the voter registration packet that will come out in about a month or two. And some of their primary concerns are that they think that this ordinance, because it governs water that isn't currently in state designated basins, would step on the toes of the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the Department of Water Resources. They're afraid of a legal challenge by the state. In my mind, and I've been working in water issues for the whole 12 years that I've lived here in Siskiyou County. In my mind, this measure puts us ahead of the curve. We're kind of anticipating groundwater management laws that are coming from the state. The state says that we're circumventing the state, but in my mind, we are complementing the state. We're just trying to get out in front of what we know is inevitable, and what that is people being a little more careful with how we manage groundwater in California. California is one of the last states in the union to not manage groundwater. And it's been great for, I think, many years, but now with this unprecedented drought coming and who knows, and rising demands for water, right now is not the time to be taking water for granted. We need to understand that this is an essential resource for life, for economy, for our communities. And if we don't manage it properly, we're going to lose it. So, so that's why I think that their claim that this circumvents the state laws is erroneous. And also they say this is redundant, that there's already permitting processes in place, and that the current laws have done a good enough job so that we don't need to remove the exemption for water bottlers, and we should just continue carrying on with the status quo, which, I'm sorry, I think that is completely not exhibiting foresight or responsibility with one of our most important substances. And so I hope that I'm able to answer all of your questions tonight. I hope I've done a good enough job explaining what Measure H is. If I had a chalkboard up here, I'd write up my contact information and make sure you know how to contact me. I'm always available for personal phone calls, emails. My whole goal here is to educate the citizens about the importance of groundwater and activate citizens to get more involved in voting and participating in our governance, because we're the ones that make the decisions. I know we like to blame our representatives for government when it's bad, and we like to praise our representatives for government when it's good. But ultimately, this is America. Is my understanding of the Constitution is that we are a government for the people, by the people, and this is what I'm trying to do a better job of doing that. So thank you very much for listening to my talk tonight, and I would love to open the floor to questions.
Angelina, what I can do for those who have additional questions that aren't answered when we are answering on the question and answers, is with your permission, I have an email list. I can send out your contact information.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just want to mention that we're both involved in the Siskiyou Forward Movement Political Action Committee. And so if you go to siskiyouforward.org, there is a contact form where you can put in a question, and that'll get to whichever of us.
Okay, and I'll put that out on my email list. What
No, I just wanted to open the floor to
Andy,
questions.
no, we're not. We're taking written questions.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah, and so we'll do the written questions after Andy's done with his.
Oh, is that the deal?
Yeah, because.
Give me that microphone.
And then I'm going to introduce Andy.